The open road is full of strangers, each with their own story. Some are looking for a ride. Some are offering one. But you never really know who you're traveling with until it's too late.
I wasn't going to share this. Hell, maybe I shouldn't. But I keep thinking about her, wondering where she is, what she's doing. I need people to hear about this little hitchhiker I met. It was well past midnight when I spotted her, a lone figure standing by the side of the road, thumb out, shivering in the cold. The air was thick with the scent of diesel, the only sounds, the rhythmic hum of my rig and the occasional hoot of an owl. I wasn't in the habit of picking up hitchhikers. Trucking life has taught me better, but something about this woman made me pause. Maybe it was the way her shoulders shook, or how the highway stretched out empty for miles behind her, lit only by the moon's glow. With a sigh, I eased the big rig to a stop. She climbed in without hesitation, shutting the door with a soft thud and exhaling in relief. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice almost lost under the rumble of the engine. I took a quick glance. She was young, maybe early 30s, with tangled hair and tired eyes. Dirt smudged her face, and her clothes were damp, clinging to her skin as if she'd been out in the heat too long. "Where are you headed?" I asked, shifting back into gear, the cab filling with the warm, stale smell of old coffee and leather. "Anywhere." Not a great answer. I cleared my throat. "Name's Charlie." She hesitated. "Jess." She didn't offer more, and I let the silence settle. The hum of the road filled the cab, steady and familiar, mixed with the faint crackle of the radio static. She sat, stiff and tense, like a rabbit cornered by a wolf. She kept sneaking quick glances at me, but immediately looked away if our eyes met. I knew that look. She was afraid of me. I wasn't surprised. I'm a big guy, and she didn't know me from a stranger on the street. A woman alone, stuck in a truck cab with some trucker in the middle of nowhere. Hell, of course she was a little nervous. I tried to soften my voice. "You okay?" Jess flinched at the question, her breath catching. "Yeah, just tired." I nodded and let it drop. No use making her feel worse. We drove for a while, the dashboard lights casting an eerie glow over us. The night outside was a dark canvas, occasionally broken by the glare of oncoming headlights. Then I noticed she was watching me now. Really watching. My fingers tensed on the wheel, the leather creaking under my grip. "Something on your mind?" Jess exhaled softly, her breath slightly sour. "I was just thinking how easy it is." Confusion etched my face. "Easy?" I questioned. She moved fast. Before I could react, her hand shot from her jacket, holding a knife that glinted in the dim light. The smell of fear and adrenaline filled the cab. I yanked the wheel hard, the truck swerving with a violent jolt, tires screaming against the asphalt. The blade slashed the air where my throat had been a second earlier. "Jesus Christ!" I screamed. She lunged again. I grabbed her wrist, muscles straining as I fought to keep the truck steady. The tires screeched as we veered onto the shoulder, the smell of burning rubber sharp in the air. Jess grinned. She whispered, pressing closer. "You thought I was the scared one. You're the big bad trucker, man. But you are scared of me now, aren't you?" I gritted my teeth. I could smell her breath metallic. With a roar, I slammed on the brakes. The truck screeched to a halt, throwing us both forward. Jess hit the dash with a grunt. Before she could recover, I threw open the door, the cold night air rushing in, and grabbed her by the collar. With one massive shove, I sent her tumbling out onto the gravel, her body hitting the ground hard. Breathing ragged, I fumbled for my tire iron, but Jess just sat there, grinning. "You're lucky," she called. Then, before I could react, she ran, straight into the darkness, disappearing down the road, her footsteps echoing in the silence. I stood frozen, chest heaving, until the night swallowed her completely. And then, just barely, over the sound of my heartbeat, I heard it. Laughter. I exhaled, rolling my shoulders, the tension in my muscles slowly easing. Damn shame, I thought to myself. I turned, climbed back into the cab, the leather seat creaking under me, and reached under my seat. A thick coil of rope sat there. Next to it, duct tape and a roll of garbage bags. The rubbery smell of the tape mixed with the mustiness of the truck's interior. I let out a slow chuckle. I rubbed the sore spot on my arm where she'd tried to cut me, feeling the sting of the shallow wound. I looked out into the night, knowing she was out there somewhere. This was going to be fun. One day soon, our paths will cross again. And when they do, I'll make sure it's her last ride. I found Charlie's confession, his little anonymous story, on an online forum for truckers. He had been documenting his work and his thoughts as if they were fiction, weaving a tale of control and dominance. He had written about me, casting himself as the hunter, but in truth, he wasn't. Let me finish the story for you. He called me Jess in his account, so I'll keep the name. To him, I was just another hitchhiker, standing by the roadside, thumb out, and helpless. Usually it's lonely men who stop for people like me, but Charlie was different. He wasn't the typical male wanting some conversation and company. He was something else. I've spent years perfecting my craft, stalking, selecting, eliminating. Some call it murder. I call it art. Every kill is precise, every moment orchestrated. I don't make mistakes. So when I climbed into his truck, I already knew how it would end. "Thank you," I murmured, my voice soft, setting the stage for the game. His eyes flickered with something: caution, interest, pity. The ride was routine at first. I watched him from the corner of my eye, the way his fingers tapped the wheel, the way he glanced at me, assessing. He seemed excited. I could feel the weight of his stare, peeling away my layers, deciding what I was worth. I played my role perfectly, the wary hitchhiker, the grateful passenger. The fear on my face? Fake. The panic in my voice? Scripted. He had no idea who he had picked up. He thought he was in control. I let him believe it. The tension built. I let my gaze linger on him. Testing, teasing, studying. My heart raced, not from fear, but from the thrill of it. "Something on your mind?" he asked finally, voice laced with suspicion. I smiled. "I was just thinking, how easy it is." My hand moved to my jacket, and when I pulled my lovely knife free, I almost laughed at the look on his face. The best kills are the ones where they think they're in control, right up until they aren't. We struggled. He fought back harder than I expected, but that only made it more exhilarating. Then, something shifted. He looked at me like he recognized me. Not my face, but what I was, and I saw it in him too. Predator recognizing predator. It changed everything. A killer realizing they've stepped into another's territory. I let him think he was winning. Let him throw me from the cab into the night. But it wasn't surrender. It was strategy. We were playing a new game now. I scrambled to my feet and saw him reaching under his seat for something. But I was already running, my laughter cutting through the silence. I found him a few nights later. He was easy to track, careful, but not careful enough. The lock on his rig was simple to pick. I wanted proof that he was truly a predator. While he sat in a diner, oblivious, I searched his space and found his trophies. 5 thatches of hair, each bound with a separate elastic band. Different shades, different lengths, different lives he had stolen. I placed them back exactly as I found them and slipped away, unnoticed. Later that night while he slept, I returned. My blade rested cool in my palm as I watched him. He looked so peaceful, like a man who had no fear in the world, unaware that the battle was still being fought, that the devil had already opened the door and stepped inside. I took my time savoring the moment. In that instant, I felt like a god, holding the universe's balance in my hands. When he finally stirred awake, it was already too late. The flicker of realization in his eyes, the understanding, the resignation. It was exhilarating. I left my mark on him, as I do with all my work, a signature of sorts. Then, without a word, I disappeared into the night, letting the darkness swallow me whole. Days later, I smiled as I read his last post on the forum, running my fingers over the stolen hair that now belonged to me. He thought he had a rival. He thought he would prevail. But in the end, there's only room for one of us. And of course, I had won. Otherwise, you wouldn't be reading my story.
Everyone feared Charlie, but did you see Jess coming? Just so you know, she is still out thumbing the roads to this day. So the next time you think about picking up a hitchhiker, remember, Jess doesn't care who you are. She just wants to have some deadly fun.